It's your man Johnny Hawkins, aka the Vibe Master, also known as the Warrior Lawyer. Been blessed on today, January 7th, 2023, to have been picked up by a good brother. Brother, your name?
Sherman Lovely.
Sherman
Lovely.
Mr. Sherman Lovely. He's doing a little something on the side, or in process of getting to his final destination or ultimate destination. So he's blessing me with transportation via a metro car transit. So without further ado, I just want to have my brother, and we just met, y'all. This is how it works with me. Y'all know how I do it. We just met, but I was impressed by what he was saying about, how he's striving and what he's doing. So I just want him to educate me, an older brother, on what a younger brother such as him. I know he's 25 years old and doing a couple other things. What does it take now, at least in his mind, to get to where he wants to get to, and where is that? So I'm gonna let my man, sort of walk us through it. Thank you, Sherman.
So one of the biggest things I would say is it takes, a good foundation, and it takes gumption, which is, self-motivation. You gotta be self-motivated, and you can't live based on other people's values. So I would say it starts with your parents. And my story is pretty much, I'm from Detroit, from the east side of Detroit. And growing up I didn't have the best situation. My parents weren't married. I've stayed in shelters, stayed in, the dope houses. I stayed in nice houses for periods of time, a nice house or two, apartments, all of that. And through all of that, even though it wasn't the best situations, I was still being told and showed the things that I was made sure I needed to hold on to. Like, even though it would be dope fiends or things coming in and out of the house during the day, my dad would also make sure he'd tell me to go sit here and do my homework for this amount of hours, or make sure I read this book. And I hated it, but it was that. Or there would be chores on the fridge. Every day I get home from school, make sure you do these chores. After a while, I started getting an allowance for chores. Now I'm getting money I'm learning like different things to do money. Now I'm saving my money. I'm saving my allowances so I could buy different things. So it was always like I was learning no matter what situation I was in. And long story short,
You can make a long story long. We got 50 minutes.
Okay, long story. Yeah. Growing up, I come from a fighting family. They more physical, and there's, in every black family, it's a lot of trauma, it's a lot of mental that doesn't get talked about. It kind of just gets, made fun of, or, whatever, but
swept under the rug.
Yes, sir. But, so it was already kind of in my blood, and if anything, my family was big on protecting ourselves, not letting anybody run us over. Even at a young age, my grandma would be like, somebody try to disrespect you, or, your family take something and knock them upside the head with it. Like,
right.
I come from that kind of family, so it was big on protecting ourselves. And in the neighborhoods, we had to do that a lot, we would be at the park playing or anything, and if somebody tried to bully us, either we would fight them then and there, or, we'd go back and get a second opinion just so we don't get in trouble. Sometimes you get in fights and it's good. Sometimes you get in fights and your parents
right.
should have. So sometimes I'd go to my dad and he'd be like, bring them over here. Bring them over, get their parents, bring them over here.
Oh, wow.
If it's a problem, y'all could fight it out. If their parents cool with it, y'all could figure it out right now. And it was like that. So through that, I developed the interest in fighting. And
when you say fighting, you mean boxing? You mean mixed martial arts? What do you mean?
So at that time, I was still kind of coming up, and I was pretty young. So at that time, I'm talking about from age from 3 all the way till I would say 13. It was all I knew about was really like boxing, and then you see like karate movies, things like that. So by the time I'm 13 going on 14, and this where it changed for me, is because I came downstairs one day and my dad had UFC, which is one of the prime
Yes.
organizations for mixed martial arts. He had it on the TV, and you know, when you're young, certain things you pick up on and it means something to you, and then a lot of things you kind of see and it just passes through. For whatever reason, I saw the UFC on the screen, and I saw it as an opportunity at that age. At that time, I'm like 14, and I was like, wow. I was like, you know, I didn't know that you could fight like that, like more than just boxing and things like that, and be on TV and get paid for it and things like that. So I was like, wow. So I started looking into it. I was always big on looking at the things that I was interested in, and I found out a lot about the UFC. So I was like, wow. I started watching it differently. So now instead of watching them fight, I'm already looking for what they not good at. So 14, I was like, okay, based on my experiences and the fights I've seen up to this point, these guys in MMA at that point, they didn't have good boxing to me. Like, I didn't think they had good boxing. This is before wrestling became super huge and MMA and things like that.
Right.
So I was like, man, if I could get really good at boxing, maybe I could make something out of that. So ever since that day, I would start, like, in my classes, when I get a new class, I would write, like, they'd be like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I had other aspirations. Obviously, I went to college, but I would always write, you know, I want to be in the UFC, or I want to be a pro MMA fighter, ever since I was 13, 14. And I ended up having an uncle that was a cop, and he was in some boxing classes. Rest in peace, Eddie. He died like 2 years ago, I found out. But he was a cop. He happened to be doing boxing, and I found out, and he offered to take me there. He didn't offer to pay for it, but he was like, you know, if you could find a way to get this money, you know, you can come to the boxing class with me a couple days a week, and you could learn.
So he was a boxer.
Yeah, he was a cop, but he was doing boxing, you know, as his little. And so I never, you know, when you're in a certain situation, you kind of know not to ask for certain things. So I would never ask my parents I just always understood, like, not to ask for certain things while we out, and that, you know, with sports. So I never wanted to, like, inconvenience them. Like, I was never that type of kid. And but I'm like, man, it was only the boxing gym. A lot of them are to get people, I don't know if people know this, but a lot of the boxing gyms, especially inner city ones, are to get people off the street. So they'll let kids come in there and do it for free.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Or for really cheap. So this one, it was only $200 for the whole year. Usually it's like $200. My gym right now is $200 a month.
Okay.
That one was $200 for the whole year. And I even felt bad about that. I was like, man, I don't know if my dad gonna even be able to do that. Like, so I got the guts to ask him. And I asked him, you know, he scraped it together for me, and he paid that $200. And since then, like, I went in there, I got humbled right away. Like, I found out the difference between street fighting and boxing quick.
Okay.
They pieced me up. My uncle was piecing me up. Like, I was like,
piecing you up. What's that?
So they were catching me with different shots and blows that I wasn't used to.
Okay.
I wasn't used to them coming at those different angles and with that much patience. I'm used to people just coming in and, you know, swinging.
Right.
And it wasn't that anymore. So I was like, man, I thought that I was good at fighting. I was like, apparently I'm not. And so it made me want to be good. Like, I was like, I don't want to be. I thought I was good. I was in there to learn boxing to eventually get into MMA.
Right.
So I start getting better with the boxing. I'm sparring now. I'm doing things. And then I start looking around on Google for MMA gyms, or, like, I didn't know what I was looking up. I would type in, like, best UFC gyms around, or best, and I would just look. And I couldn't afford them, though. But so what I would do, I would go to these gyms, and a lot of the gyms, they would let you have, it's like this 7-day free trial where you get to try out their gym, and, you know, if you like it, then after the 7 days, then you could join the gym. You pay the amount and you join. If not, then, you know, you just never pay that amount. And I'll do these 7-day trial. I'll ride my bike up there, because You know, my
Are
dad's
you
at
still a
work.
teenager now? Are you still a teenager?
I'm still 14, 15.
Okay. And you're 25 now?
25 now.
That's about, what, 11 years ago?
Yep, almost 11 years now. And so I'm riding my bike to these different gyms. I'm Googling them, riding my bike up there, and doing their 7-day trials. But then after the trial was up, I would just look up a different gym, like, because I couldn't afford their monthly memberships, and I know my dad couldn't either.
Yeah.
But eventually the gym started taking notice. They were like, yeah, it's this kid. You know, we send him at different gyms. He's not joining. Like, we don't know why he's not joining, but he's good. You know, he's good. He seems motivated. I'm 14, 15, but I've always you know, I've always tried to stay semi-athletic. Even at that point, I was doing, you know, 60 push-ups 3 times a day and 60 sit-ups 3 times a day. Like, you know, just trying to do something. And so they took notice and they started trying to help me. They started trying to, like, let me join the gyms without really having to worry about the fees, as long as I was in there training. So they started kind of helping me out around the Dearborn, Detroit area.
Yeah.
And
they saw the desire.
Yeah, based off the desire.
Right. Yeah.
So I was doing that for a while. So I'm doing boxing, and I'm doing kickboxing. I'm doing a little bit of jiu-jitsu. So kickboxing, boxing, and jiu-jitsu. Yeah. That's what I know at 14, 15. By the time I'm going into 16, I'm like, okay. And also at this time, I already know what I want to go to college for. I'm like, okay, because my high school made us apply for college. Like, they made us know that stuff. So I knew what I wanted.
High school at?
I actually went to high school in Taylor.
Okay, Taylor.
At Kennedy.
Okay.
Kennedy High. And that's getting into that. So at this point, I'm about to be 16. My dad, he's talking about moving back to Detroit. And, but I was telling him, I'm like, man, like, it's only certain sports that I can do while I'm in high school. And I started getting curious about, like, track and football and things like that. I'm like, I can always do my martial arts. I'm already, you know, planning on going to college to do my school stuff. But I would like to, you know, try out see what these high school sports like too. And I wanted to do football, so I started kind of training for football. They were always asking me since my freshman year to join the team, or to at least try to think about it. So I was already kind of thinking, and I finally started going to, like, practices. And I've always liked to race, but I didn't have the technique, and I found that out through football, to actually sprint the right way. And so I joined track. After my first year of football, I joined track to get faster for football the next year.
What position they put you in on the first year of football?
Man, they had me at nose.
Nose guy.
Yeah, they had me at nose, and then I was running back. That was supposed to be my primary.
Okay.
And that ended up being my primary. So,
running back. Okay.
So, let's fast forward. My first year of football, that was my junior year. It was, you know, so-so, but, you know, people could still see the potential.
Right.
So I was going into that whole next year. First of all, I did track, so I did the track season. Then before the football season came, I was doing all these different camps, like you know, all these different NCAA camps. I would go to Wayne State, and I'm saving up my money from working at Taco Bell doing this stuff.
Oh, wow. You working too?
Yeah, I'm working at this point. I started working at like 15, 16, because I wanted Wi-Fi. All my friends had Wi-Fi. My dad, like, we don't need that. He came home one day, and I had Wi-Fi in there.
That when you were born?
97.
See, I haven't heard this much, as regularly as in my generation, this much drive, ambition, and understanding of what it takes to win. So do what you got to do. I mean, you work and you're in school. You know, you follow your ambitions. I'm very impressed. Go ahead. I'm sorry for interrupting.
And so, where was I?
You were junior year.
Junior years.
Talking about
camps.
Yep.
So I did the camps, and even my friends who already graduated high school, I'm having them come out to the field. I'm riding my bike to the field, football, equipment on the bike, everything, whatever I can. And I get up there, and yeah, they all training me, they all helping me, they believe in me. And my senior year of football finally come around. And man,
You running back, strictly running back?
I'm strictly running back.
Yeah.
And they ran like a power formation, so I wasn't the main, because I was always a faster guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm big too, but they didn't view me that way back then. So,
you were 6'3", 6'4"?
No, I'm like 6 foot.
Okay.
6
So you
foot.
look bigger when we helped your brother out. Okay.
And so they would run the power, so I wasn't necessarily the starter. Like, I would come in often, but it wasn't like I wasn't the person that was automatically out there when the game started. So, but man, I finished that year off most touchdowns on the team, most yards, you know, everything offensive like that you can think of, catches. And I ended up going to those camps while I was going to those camps. One of them was Eastern Michigan. And you know, nobody, like, there was a couple D3 schools, D2 schools or D3 that got back, but nobody was like really taking notice. So I started emailing back Eastern. I was like,
you started emailing?
I went on their site.
Yeah.
I found the coaches.
Okay.
I found which one was the head coach, which ones was the coaches that I recognized from the camps. I found their email.
Wow.
And I emailed them, and I was like, man, you know, I told them like everything, my story, that I was looking to come to that school. They had my major, which is simulation, animation, and gaming, because my dad's an artist. I always wanted to create. I always wanted to be able to bring my creations to life, and that was the only way I felt like I could put people in my world, is like if I made like animation, or I could bring my drawings to life.
Man.
And and I emailed them. I was asking about walking on, and they took me as a walk-on. So I ended up walking on to Eastern, you know, as a running back.
How were you affording college? Were you on grants, scholarships, or what?
So my second year of high school was second year of high school, second semester. I found out about like how important my cumulative was. Like I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know that it was so hard to get back up if you start off bad. And I found that out, and I found out like what you kind of need it to be to get into college. And I started taking that real serious. Like I think my GPA after that sophomore semester it never felt like under a 3.4.
Wow.
And
it's like I say about you, man. You seriously are resourceful, brother. You know how to get it done. That's very impressive.
Thank you.
Wow.
And and even then, like, even though I was still, it was always above a 3.4, I still didn't graduate with the super high cumulative, but it was still high enough for my grants, for my situation, for my scholarship, for my walk-on. My dad was so huge on not being a follower. I was happy. I know how to be happy with my situation without worrying about everybody else's. So I was happy with that, and I got into Eastern. It's now 2015. And man, this when the story get real crazy. So now I'm at Eastern. It's kind of like before the semester start, I'm just on campus at my dorm. It's like one of the bigger, like, we get the upper class dorm rooms kind of since we on the football team. So, and I got like 4 different roommates. So it's crazy. And then it's like, at this point, it's like September or August, right before September. I get out of practice one day, and I'm walking through the rec. I go to the rec. I'm walking through the rec, and I hear, you know, what sound like bags, like somebody hitting bags or mitts. And I'm thinking, like, what would that be doing here? Like, why would that be on Eastern campus? So I go look for it. I go to the room. I find the room that it's at, and they're in there practicing martial arts. Wow. And I'm like, wow, I didn't even know that Eastern had anything related to martial arts. So me being me, I introduced myself. I found the head coach in there. I'm like, I asked him, what's going on here? Like, what's the situation? And he tells me, like, this is Eastern's MMA team.
Whoa.
And I was like, Eastern's MMA team? He was like, yes.
You just walked into this.
And I heard it, I walked into it. And, you know, like I said, I was focused on football, track. I was still shadow boxing and stuff at home, but like, I'm like, okay, I'm here for football now, and I catch up with that stuff later. But I found the MMA thing. I talked to him, and I was like, you know, I had to find this for a reason. So I was like, I told him, I'm like, I got this experience. I'm looking to be a fighter, because when you join a gym, and you want to be a fighter, you have to let the coach know, or they'll think you just there for self-defense. So I let them know at this point I just turned 18, and I was like, I really want to be a fighter. I'm dedicated, blah, blah, blah. I got this experience. And I started training. He hooked me up, and I started training there. I dropped off the football team. I still had grants and things like that, so I never needed. I only was a walk-on, so I never needed that to be there.
Correct, correct. I got
So
you.
I was still enrolled in my classes and stuff. So
I want to say this: you were there. You kept being there because you had a decent grade point average. It wasn't a scholarship, but it was your doing that kept you there. And so you were able to transition from football to mixed martial arts when you found it. That's amazing.
Yep.
Okay.
So I started training, and man, like quick, he started taking notice that I had some experience. He was like, okay. And usually with a gym, you have to train with them for a year before they're confident enough to let you fight under their gym name. Like, this person is training under us, and he's fighting through us. We taught him what what he's about to display. And I had a fight with them within 2 months.
2 months.
And the way that martial arts work, even through amateurs, yes, it was Eastern MMA, but I'm not fighting. People thought that I would be fighting other colleges. I'm not fighting other colleges. I'm just fighting other MMA fighters from around the world.
Really?
It had nothing to do with college. This was counting as a gym. It was It was on paper as a gym. Nothing to do with Eastern. So I'm fighting grown men. So my first fight was like I said, 2 months after I started training at Eastern MMA, and it was against some guy. He had I guess he saw me training before or something, but I had found out that he called me out. His name was Gary Edwards. At that time, he already had 8 amateur fights. And I haven't had any amateur MMA fights.
Right, at that point you had not, right?
Yeah, and so I'm 18, and I found out and I accepted. My coach tell me about it. We come up with a game plan. I accept the fight, and my dad. Another cool thing about the fighting thing is that my family not super tight, especially as we get older, and the people with the traditions, the older people in the family start kind of passing away, unfortunately, and things like that. It starts loosening up because now people aren't gathering up for certain barbecues and certain. So, but when I was fighting, both sides of my family, I see everybody, they all come together and support, and I would see my mom's side of the family sitting with my dad's side, and everybody just talking. And even though they don't all have the most money, they'll still pay to support me for my tickets, because I was getting little percentages from ticket sales.
But you were making a little money.
A little bit.
Even though you're in college, and that was cool, right? It was just that's what it was.
And so I get the fight. I finished that fight in 26 seconds. I knock him out.
You knocked out Gary Edwards.
Knocked out Gary Edwards 26 seconds. Shocked everybody. Last thing I remember, I completely blacked out. Last thing I remember was I was talking to my coach inside the cage right before it started. He giving me the last of the game plan. And I remember my dad, he just hearing my dad out there, he was just get him, focus in, buckle up, it's time, focus. And then it's just quiet. You got your entrance music, you come out, and then the crowd talking for a minute. Once they close the cage door, and the ref stands in the middle, it's completely quiet. It's just you and him. It's complete quiet.
It's quiet in your mind.
Yeah. So
but I can still in my head hear people talking and shouting and sitting and stuff. Yeah, you basically went into the zone, is what you're saying.
Yep. So that was 26 seconds. And after that, it kind of just gave me the belief, even more of a belief that it was possible, because before I'm seeing other people do this stuff, but I'm not the one doing it. I want to do it, but I'm not really doing it. I'm just practicing for it. Right. So I beat him, and I was like, man, this is actually, it's actually a possibility. So unfortunately, through that, you learn different trials and tribulations as you do anything, and it was hard for me to do everything at that point. So after that fight, I still got class in the morning. I still got work. I worked at Rent-A-Center. I was still doing moving. I didn't want to do jobs that I never applied for jobs. I tried not to apply for jobs that everybody else was doing.
Right.
And I didn't have anything when I applied for Rent-A-Center. I didn't have a chauffeur's license. I called them, and I would always call the jobs a bunch of times after I applied. Say, just to, did you guys have a chance to check out that application for Sherman Lovely yet?
Wow.
And they let me know I need my chauffeur's license. I look up what a chauffeur's license is. I look up what I need for it. I go to the Secretary of State, pass it. I got the job at Rent-A-Center. So I'm working at Rent-A-Center. I'm doing the college full time, and then I also have to train full time.
Wow.
And the homework, it was just hard for me to come back, do the homework, go to work. It was just too much. So the training was a little weird for a minute. My coach, I found out, didn't have my coach at Eastern. I found out he didn't have my best interest because he was also a fighter.
Okay.
And after if he would lose his fight, he would it would almost be like nobody else would get a fight for a while, and like he would be trying to take it out on us and sparring. And I always had aspirations. I remember like he would always shoot him down. Like I'd be like, I want to fight this guy, or like, I want to be a champion at this weight class. You'd be like, no, you too small. Or I'll be like, I want to fight this guy. At the time, his name was Willis Black. He was the welterweight. I fight at welterweight. Willis Black is my best friend now.
Is that right?
He was telling me back then, I didn't even know Willis back then, my freshman year of college. He was telling me, you can never be like this guy. Just, focus on you. You can't beat him. Like, Willis told me I'm one of the most athletic people he ever met.
Wow.
And so I ended up getting away from that coach. So that was in 2015. I had that fight in September 2015. 2016, I'm still training there. I'm still working. I'm still doing college. 2017, the same thing. 2018, in the beginning, I switched to community college, and I decided to start looking into different gyms. 2018 was the year of me preparing myself for 2019. So I didn't have any fights between after that first one. Yeah. Between 2015 and 2019. Wow. So he wasted like 4 years of my career, I feel like. But I was still learning. I was still learning things. He was just mentally, and like, I could have been believed that I was this great. I could have been believed I was great. Right. And been doing great things, but I didn't have that vision yet because he sent my vision elsewhere. Wow. And so I started looking into other gyms. I make the decision, like, okay, because you got to make big decisions. I know that it takes sacrifices, and I knew that I would have to drop something off. So I decide, okay, what thing that I'm doing right now needs to be, am I going to benefit from the quickest? Which is going to get my family or whatever out of the situation the quickest? I had to find out. At this point, I'm like,
set your priorities. So
right, set my priorities. Yeah. Okay. And I figured out I had to drop college for a minute. And I got 1 year left still. Okay. But since it's simulation, animation, and gaming, I'm like, okay, if I have to, I could take my last year of college online, or I could do online classes in general once I get to a more comfortable position.
So currently, you still have 1 year remaining to get your degree.
Yep.
All right, I got you.
And
but you had to make some tough decisions.
I had to make some tough decisions. Okay. So I did that. My coach ended up telling me, I ended up getting into it with that coach at the time, and he was like, because he was telling me to leave my jobs. I was like, I got this schedule. He was like, all right, we'll find a new job. Like he always tried to make stuff sound simple. I'm like, I got bills, this and that. He's like, all right, well, if you can't make it to practice, then go get a new job. Or like he would make it sound so simple. And he was like, or just leave. He told me, or just leave. He was like, if you want to be able to do that, then just leave and go to this gym. The gym he told me to just leave and go to, I actually ended up looking at, because he was just trying to say just leave, and he threw a random gym out there, but he probably didn't think I would actually look into it. Right. This gym, It's the gym that Willis, who was the welterweight champion at that time, he was training there.
Okay.
Willis was training there. All types of different people were training there. And I ended up going to that gym. I went to that gym. So this 2018, it's called Bushido. And that whole year I was just training nonstop because now I got more time. You know, I'm working still. At this time, I'm a line leader at a factory.
Okay.
You know, I got it through a temp service. 2 months into the temp service, they upgraded me to line leader. And so yeah, I'm practicing now. I'm going to I also got a Planet Fitness membership now. I skipped a couple things, but I got my license 2 years before that. Like I had to get everything while I was in college. License, ID, car, all that stuff I got while I was in college through either taxes or, you know, financial aid or saving up checks. Like, you know, I always had to sit down and kind of figure out what I needed to get next. And so I'm training, I'm getting my body right, I'm watching film, and I'm coming up with my whole vision. Like, who do I want to be? What's your nickname? Like, what's your everything? And
what is it?
My nickname is the Grim Reaper.
The Grim Reaper?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so 2019 is coming around. It's coming on. It's like December now, 2018. I get a fight. My coach booked me a fight at this new gym, Bushido.
This is not the first coach we're talking about. This is the new coach.
It's the new coach.
Okay, at the new gym. Okay.
At the new gym, and he booked me a fight. It's it's funny because the person I went against with my fight with the new gym, trains at my current gym.
Yeah.
Like the gym I'm at today.
Mm-hmm.
So I went against somebody who trains at my current gym today, and I won that fight. Knocked him out second round.
So this is your second fight?
Yeah, this is my second fight.
Okay.
And it was another big highlight. It was another highlight knockout. Like, and I think that's the thing that kind of started getting my name built, was that the way that I was into these people. Like, it was always, you could tell that it was something behind how I had a why. You could tell I had a why.
Mm-hmm.
And people started taking notice.
Was it due to boxing, basically, what you had thought initially, or was it something else that caused the knockout in fight one and fight two? You know, was it your boxing skills?
Oh, yeah. So starting off, it was for sure. I mean, my first fight, it was for sure all boxing. I didn't throw any kicks.
Okay.
I just went in there, caught them, and then barraged them. Mm-hmm. My second fight, I threw a lot. I was more kickboxing based, but I did knock him out with a punch.
Okay. You right hand or southpaw?
I'm orthodox.
Oh, okay.
So right hand. So yeah. So at this point, people are starting to take notice. I'm editing. So I'm screen recording these fights after I win them on my phone, looking up editing, like different little free editing apps on the phone. Mm-hmm. And I'm editing little highlights, like how you see highlights of boxers on YouTube.
You create your own highlight reels.
I'm making my own highlight from the fights.
Yeah.
I make a highlight, it get like 2,000 views on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even known as a fighter at that point.
Right.
So I'm like, okay. So I start taking notice, and so through that, I went 5-1 as an amateur, and I won a title in Iowa.
So you're traveling as well.
Yep. So traveling. Okay. So now, fast forward a little bit. In 2021, last year, is when I went pro.
Okay.
So last year is when I went pro, and
how's it been?
It's been good. I haven't so I only had one pro fight so far, and then I was kind of and it went good, but so it's a couple different things to the story. So I'll start with my main motivation is obviously to give. You know, you want to give back, you want to support from your family and things like that. But something I didn't talk about was with my parents being separate, you know, you see different things. One parent doing one thing, they seeing different people, and one of the people that my mom was seeing was very abusive. And you know, I always remember not being able to do nothing. You know, hearing her ask for help and things like that, and I couldn't do nothing about it. Like, I just got to listen to it. And you know, I just never wanted to. I always wanted her to see like a better side of life after that. And I always also I didn't want to feel like that again. I never wanted to feel like I couldn't do nothing or I wasn't prepared for it.
As vulnerable.
And
that's right.
you know, it's a bunch of different situations that led to where I felt I needed an outlet. So that's where the burning came from for fighting. That's where I felt like I needed to. That's kind of how I got that fire to fight. It's because I needed an outlet. Like I wasn't the perfect kid. Like, I mean, I was good. I had morals and things like that, but I've gotten into fights before. I've gotten hungry and had to steal before, and I got arrested for it. Different things, and through that, I've only gotten arrested twice. It's not on my record or nothing like that. But
nobody's perfect.
Yes, but through that, it developed more of a hunger and more of a gumption for me to push through when things get hard. So even though the fighting isn't the easiest sport, the way that I looked at it was that, okay, let's say I was doing football, track, and things like that. Okay, I didn't like the fact that I had to depend on other people to determine my success in those sports. And I wanted to feel like, you know, if I lose or if I can't provide or be successful in this sport, it's because I didn't do better than this guy that night.
I got you. And
it all seemed possible.
You prefer solo versus team sports based on your character, based on who you are. I got you.
It all seemed more possible to me. And unfortunately, the week of my first pro fight, my grandma passed away. She was fighting cancer.
Oh, wow.
And so that messed me up. That messed me up mentally because, you know, my granddad had died 2 years before that. He did 16 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. I finally got to meet him, and then he passed away. Like, it was a bunch of different things where it was like, man, all these people. And I also found out my granddad, when he did get out, you know, I was talking to him, I found out he was a boxer. I found out one of my brothers that I didn't grow up with, he a boxer. And you know, I don't know, it got to a point where now the people that I want to experience this with me were passing away. And so it was a lot of mixed emotions with that, and finally going pro, but people, you know, passing away. My mom was it was like everybody was having problems. I got a 2-year-old now. So much was happening at once. I was winning that first pro fight. On paper, I was 100%. The odds, because it was at the Motor City Casino. The odds for me to win that fight was 100%. I never seen somebody 100% betting on to win a fight. Nobody thought I was gonna lose the fight. I ended up losing that fight.
And
last round.
How many rounds did you guys go?
It was 3 rounds.
Okay.
So, last minute of the last round, like, and I didn't even know what round it was. Like, I was so mentally out of it, and it was just so crazy because I remember, like, in the corner after a round, they talking to you, and I just remember, like, they talking to me, but like, I'm not hearing nothing. Like, I wasn't hearing anything. And so that was a fight I was winning that I ended up losing. I was piecing them up, and or I was connecting some good blows. I shot for a takedown. I'm not even a wrestler. Shot for a takedown. He stuffed the takedown, and he reversed the position. And even if you're not really taking damage, if you can't improve your position, they'll still stop the fight. So he landed a couple pity pat punches, and they stopped that fight.
They stopped it.
So that was my first pro fight. This is me coming off I just came off the fight in Iowa. I got the title. You know, I'm feeling good. And, you know, you just got to be able to know. But I'm also always prepared. So a saying that I like to live off of is, you know, you want to hope for the best, but be prepared for the worst.
That's right. That's right.
And I'm always like that, even with, you know, with everything. And I've had job opportunities where the morning of the interview, my car wouldn't start up. Like, things like that. You just got to be able to move through. And
so you're 25 now.
So now I'm 25.
You
went
got
pro
a daughter,
last year.
I think you said, or a kid.
I got one son.
Okay.
Me and his mom are still together.
Okay. Where you see yourself in 5 years? By 30, what do you want to? What should it look like for you? Best case scenario. Best case.
So right now, I make my own schedule. I can train more than I ever been able to train, and I make more than enough I have the choice to make as little or as much money as I want. I make my hours.
Okay.
So with finally being in a situation where I feel like now I could finally do and plan whatever I need to plan and do. And I got the family. My lady is real supportive, and so I got the foundation. For a while, you just have to,
and the motivation, because you're a father now, brother.
And the motivation. So, but you know, a lot of life is about finding the time, finding the motivation, and finding a good foundation to come back to. And so some people never find that.
Yeah.
So I got that now. So 5 years from now, man, I don't see nothing but success. Like, honestly, I don't see a way that I could end up not successful no matter what route I choose. And I just have so many ideas. Like, I got a whole book. I started writing down all my ideas, all the things I want to invest in, all the things that I'm going to do or, you know, plan to do, because I started finding out that, you know, sometimes when you go back and look at these things that you might think are, you know, they're not good ideas, or they're dumb, or, you know, waste of time. You go back and look at them and be like, man, like,
you was onto something.
With this, and this, you can actually turn this into something. So 5 years from now, you know, I see me and my family in a big, beautiful home. I see myself as an established pro MMA fighter.
You know, get that degree?
I definitely see myself with the degree from now.
Okay.
You know, and I just see myself growing and being more wise than even I am now, because it's always something to grow in.
Yeah, I would say you're pretty wise at 25. So, what would you say your passion is? Have you found your passion?
Yep.
And what's your passion?
So my passion is just being able to just stand. My passion is to stay hungry and to stay. I have a passion for staying. I don't want to say ahead, but having a plan. My passion is having plans and always being able to.
All the way over to be in your most left lane.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just gotta go through the lights and you'll begin.
Yep, always just being able to adapt and chase my plans. My passion is bringing dreams into reality. Like, the things that I found out, like the things that seem super far-fetched, once you find out like the little steps and like the who you need to know, the different who you need to know, and then you find out like, man, it looks far-fetched on TV or on the news, but then you meet these people and they just regular people, and they tell you their story. You like, man, that's like a regular story.
Wow.
So
making this left. Now, what would you say your purpose is? Have you discovered your life purpose? You told me your passion. What would you say your life purpose is? Have you discovered it yet, or are you still working on that?
My life purpose?
Yeah. What do you think God brought you to this world to do, brother?
I don't know that yet.
Okay, we're gonna make a quick left right here. I got you. Yeah, all right. And you're young, so I totally get that, but I think you're working on it. I think your passion will lead you to your purpose.
Exactly.
You know what I'm thinking. So that's what's happening. We're gonna make this quick right here in this driveway. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. So what I'm passionate about will definitely lead me to my purpose. I'm positive of that.
Right. And your family and all, and what motivates you. Yeah. Well, if you were asked by me, and you are now being asked by me, what would you say to the brothers of 18, 19, you know, where you were 7 years ago? You know, what was the best advice that you can give them?
Right. So the best advice that I could give somebody 18 or 19 and kind of like a, let's say, a impoverished situation that doesn't have the most. And I don't want it to be nothing cliche, so let me think about it. I would say the best advice is to come up with a main plan of something that you actually want to do and something that you actually are willing to work towards doing. You know, failures and, you know, everything, no matter what happens, you actually willing to work towards this. Come up with a plan to where, even if it's the most simple plan, to where in some way that you going towards that. You know, no matter what else you're doing, make sure you always going towards your main plan. You know, even if it's one thing a day. You know, if I wanted to sell lemonade, if I can't afford to go buy a bag of lemons, you know, I would do something to where maybe I can get one lemon this day. Maybe I can get one lemon that day. Okay, now I can offer this person that I know will buy a cup of lemonade from me. I could offer them a cup of lemonade. Maybe they'll buy it from me. You know, now they'll tell their friend. Whatever it is, you gotta have a plan. And you gotta stay focused because there's so many distractions out here. You also can't be a follower. Don't worry about what everybody else doing. You know, even if it seemed cool. At the end of the day, a lot of those cool people that I around, like from my school from back in the day, they still there. They still in the same spot. They still, you know, still trying to be cool. But everybody else, now they in houses. Now they talking about their families and stuff. But this person still, you know, they at the parties. They somewhere trying to be seen. Like that stuff is cool, but you gotta realize, like, you gotta know your own process. You gotta have perspective, a good perspective, and you gotta realize your process. You know, everybody process not the same for everything. So.
Wow. Well, man, it's been my pleasure, brother, being blessed to be with you for this 50 minutes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, thank you for taking the time out to, you know, share with me just a part of your story that I hope we together can help others who are listening in on this. What I heard is a very tenacious brother, that's very resourceful, that had a plan, that was motivated based on some things that were not so good in the beginning, but they drove you to get to where you are today, right? You know, with what you experienced as a child, you know, that which made you most vulnerable. Yeah, it was that then, but you were not going to allow that to, you know, make you who you were, and you for darn sure weren't going to allow that to ever happen again. You're like, I gotta remedy this.
Don't feel sorry for yourself.
There we go. So I salute you, brother, as an ex-military man. You know what I mean?
Real?
And
nice.
Yeah, as a professional, as a guy that practices martial arts myself, in kung fu. You know, I'm not mixed martial arts. I didn't do jiu-jitsu and things like that, but I respect the art. I think all martial arts are amazing. I think the brother or sister that can do mixed martial arts is a special species. You know what I mean? Somebody that is really driven. So, you know, I want to, you know, give mad respect to you on that, and just say thank you, man. Thank you for this. And so, where can people look you up at? You know, like if people are trying to look you up and check out your background and your history, where you're going, and your future fights.
Right. So you could look me up on YouTube. Anything Sherman Lovely. MMA, on YouTube is Sherman Lovely or Sherman Lovely MMA. On Facebook, Sherman Lovely, and on Instagram, Sherman Lovely. And you'll find my fights. You'll find fight highlights. You'll find that's where you can follow what's coming up next. My next fight is in March. It'll be my second pro fight. It'll be, you know, my most, you know, my biggest fight for sure. And I'll make the biggest statement with that fight. I've been training. My last fight was in April of last year. And that's when I lost my grandma. So I've been training hard since then. And now I actually, for the first time, feel like I'm actually really close, and I feel like it's more possible than ever. So definitely come, you know, follow me and check that out if you can.
Sherman Lovely, the Grim Reaper.
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Yes,
Mixed martial art. I got you, bro. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time today, man. God bless you. People, y'all heard it from me. It's been your man, Johnny Hawkins, a.k.a. the Vibe Master. This has been Conversations with Johnny and my good brother, Sherman Lovely, a.k.a. the Grim Reaper.
Blessings, kings and queens.
All right. God bless.